Hello, everyone, and welcome to the HP Podcast, a show about video games from the three most handsome boys you know. I'm Ben, and with me today is Davey, washed up host of the HP Podcast after only 1 week. How you, how you doing, Dave?
He did great.
Well.
God.
Yeah, it's good to have you back, Ben, and I have a new appreciation for what you do every week.
Yeah.
For those of you watching, or if you're not watching live or just listening, there's a lot of stuff happening on screen, and there's stuff that we've decided to talk about that doesn't just kind of happen. So I kind of have a new appreciation for what Ben does every week for the show. So yeah.
But you already knew that stuff. I guess you just didn't have to do it yourself before.
Having never done it, I have a newfound respect for it doing it live. So yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, Brandon and I, we came together and we somehow pulled it off. But
At the same time, yeah.
Yeah, it's been 3 long weeks since we've all been back together. So
Well,
That's true.
that's good.
That's true.
the boys are back in town.
Yes, Brandon, they are indeed. Now, Brandon,
Yes.
I have some news for you, for both of you, really.
Oh, good.
I've decided I'm done with this podcast.
You're pregnant. Okay.
This is the 265th episode. I was on the first 263, then I missed 264, and now 265 will be my last because I quite frankly can't see the point of going on once you've broken a streak like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, in fairness, it was kind of a rigged streak because, like, if I couldn't make a week or if I couldn't make a Tuesday night, I'd be like, let's move it to a different night. And we always, whatever. We always did that for each other to the extent that we could. But
Sure.
yeah, this is it. I'm hanging it up. How do you feel about that? Good. Yeah, the silence is really, really.
Is he frozen?
Oh, you're talking to me.
Oh, well, just in general. Yeah, I guess so. Well, now I know.
It was
I know.
it was a bit of a thinker. I had to think about it.
Mm,
You know
okay.
how long that takes me to do.
I have heard stories about about how long. Yeah, so that was the first time in years that I've been away from my home for a full week. I've done some like weekend trips or long weekends, quite frequently. I shouldn't say quite frequently, a couple times a year. But yeah, it was nice just to get away for a whole week. And although there is something nice about being at home.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
I wasn't like wanting to come back home until, of course, like everything's over and you're on your way back, and then you're like, let me just get home. I wasn't wanting to come home, but when I got home, I was like,
home.
yes.
Yeah.
And I didn't leave the house for 2 days at all.
There you
I
go.
took the dog out, but that was about it. But other than that, we're here. We're ready to talk about some video game stuff. But you guys have a good week. Everything, since 2 weeks since the last time I saw you. It's been
Guys, I got to run something by you because
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's happening.
okay.
So every day for the past 2 days, when I get home from work,
So yesterday and today,
correct,
every day. Okay.
as loud as I possibly can, I have played the song Mo Bamba off of Sheck Wes's 2018 hit album Mud
Mhm.
Boy,
Yeah.
as loud as I possibly could
Yeah, who hasn't?
in my home. And I think
Uh-huh.
one of two things is happening. I want to run it by. Either I'm slowly losing grips with reality, or I'm attempting to gain some sort of eldritch forbidden knowledge.
Mhm.
When I guess there's a third. Maybe I was just trying to feel something again.
Mhm.
Maybe just trying to feel anything. But for the past 2 days, maybe I can see how long I can keep it going. It's been day number 2 of absolutely banging that shit. I mean, I'm rocking the walls. I asked my brother today. I said, "Did you hear me listening to Mo Bamba?" He said, "Yes, yes, I did."
Now, what brought the inspiration on for that song specifically?
It's just a banger.
Yeah.
It was a simpler time in 2018.
True.
And the summer that came out, it was instantly a certified classic.
Certified hood classic for sure.
Certified hood classic, correct. So I don't know which one of the options you guys think is happening to me. It could be a culmination of all of them. But
Yeah.
it's been an
I'm
interesting.
I'm having a hard time recalling the song you're talking about. You're saying Mo Bamba.
Yes, sir.
Can you hum it for me? I don't want to play it because we're on YouTube.
No,
Give me a little something, Brandon.
no.
No, I'm not trying to goat you into anything. I just
Oh,
genuinely cannot picture the song.
I got hose rolling, and I can't sing the rest.
Okay. Okay. I think I know what you're talking about.
You don't have the right card for that.
Oh fuck! Shit, bitch, dude! I was literally screaming that shit at the top of my lungs. I'm telling you, now that I say it out loud, I think I was trying to feel something, just anything at all, the entire day. And now I'm here. I'm kind of banking on that Elder's knowledge, though. I'm kind of just hoping it, like, you know, that like Zoolander thing, the like psychological principle where like something breaks in your mind and you learn something new. You know what I mean? I'm thinking maybe that's happening.
Brendan, I think I would be a little bit more concerned if this happened for like years. That every day when you got home you would play it. But then after a certain amount of time, it becomes like, well, that's just what I do. But I think what would help that is if every week, so like every 7 days,
yes,
you increase it to 2 plays a night, and then 3 plays a night, and then so like every week you add another play, to the point where like by the beginning of next year, you will just be playing it for hours a night.
And I can't even sleep without listening to Mo Bamba at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gonna be like white noise.
Mm-hmm.
It's like me and my friend Mo Bamba comes with me to the party, you know. So me and Sheck West, my boy.
So as you mentioned, you live in a duplex. You live downstairs. Your brother lives upstairs, and it gets to the point where like your brother, like stages an intervention for you about playing Mo Bamba all the time.
Dude, put me in a straitjacket. I'm not stopping.
A straitjacket would have no effect on you listening or not listening to that song, or any other song for that matter.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'll have to think on this a little bit, but I think it's healthy to have a thing, but I think that it needs to increase in number the longer this goes on, because like if you're just trying to feel something, it's not enough to just hear that same thing every day. It's like
Have you heard the song?
Yeah, I've heard this.
Okay, well then it's enough.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying like you're gonna at the end of this week you're gonna be like, man, I don't feel the same way I did when I listened to it once earlier this week, and then next week you'll be like, listen to it twice, and then you get a little little pizzazz. I
deafen myself by the end of this.
It gets to the point where your internal monologue is Mo Bamba. Like you no longer have thoughts that are not Mo Bamba.
I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. If that was my internal monologue, that would be a step up, brother. I'm telling you, that would be a notable. That would be like a 10 out of 10 step up. If I could choose that right now, if I could rub a motherfucking bottle, I would do. And Jeannie says 3 wishes. I would say double the rent for all single mothers. I would say. I would say make my internal monologue always Mo Bamba and let me get in the motherfucking Helldivers 2 servers anytime I want. That would be my 3 wishes. That's it. That's it.
You did say double the rent for all single mothers, right? That's
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to. We'll put that on your bumper sticker.
Yeah.
This fall for the election season. This is the HP podcast. We talk about video games and Mo Bamba and Brandon's mental decline into.
I don't think this song. I'm listening to it. I don't think this song is healthy for you to listen.
You got your iPod Touch out there or something,
bro? It bangs. It bangs, bro.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
You don't think it's healthy for him to listen to?
You had to be there. You had to be there. I'm telling you, you had to be there.
Dave, how many songs do you know 100% of the lyrics to?
Just one. And I have a feeling you know which one it is.
Because you sang it to me in the back of an Uber once.
Oh no!
Would you care to tell the audience what that is?
It's Confessions Part 2 by Usher.
Now, do you think that's a healthy song for you to know all the lyrics to and no other songs?
Okay, it would be unhealthy for me to listen to Confessions Part 2 every single day of my life to a point where it overtook my internal dialogue. That's what I'm saying.
That's fair.
I think if you listen to like Beethoven, like there's probably not many artists or songs that would be healthy to listen to every single day to a point where they overtook your internal dialogue.
Yeah.
But Mo Bamba is definitely not it.
It's definitely not the one. Anyway,
I have it stuck in my head already.
I mean, it's a banger for sure. So for the third time. This is the HP Podcast, a show about video games and Mo Bamba. We get together most Tuesday nights, pretty much every Tuesday night, to talk about them. If you want to join us live, you can do so on YouTube at Ben is Handsome or on the Handsome Phantom channel. You can also check us out on audio feeds. If you are not here live and you're not on YouTube, you're probably figured out that you can check out the audio feeds. But If you want to join us and hang out and talk about Mubamba in the Discord, you can do so for free by going to handsomephantom.com/Discord. We appreciate that very much. Look, I was out of here 1 week and I already forgot the little prompts on the screen. Already forgot about it. But go over to handsomephantom.com/Discord. Join us there to hang out. You can also support us for as little as $1 a month. We appreciate that over on patreon.com/handsomephantom. It's the place to be. We really appreciate it. Guys, let's talk about some actual video games. Number 1. Sony Interactive Entertainment's recent financial results reveal impressive milestones for the PS5 with nearly 55 million units sold and Marvel's Spider-Man 2 surpassing 10 million copies sold. However, despite these successes, Sony anticipates a decline in PS5 hardware and software sales in the next fiscal quarter, with no major first-party releases planned. Analysts are concerned about declining margins in Sony's gaming business, despite high digital sales and subscription revenue. The company's decision to lower its PS5 sales forecast for the fiscal year has contributed to a significant drop in stock value. Analysts attribute the declining margins to rising software production costs, particularly notably for blockbuster titles like Marvel Spider-Man 2, which had a budget of $300 million. Dave, I think I saw that Sony's stock value was down like $10 billion or something like that. I could have that totally wrong. I might have put a B where there should have been an M. No, it was definitely billion. Maybe it wasn't 10. Either way, it wasn't good. It wasn't a good thing. And yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that's obviously important in that, but I want to hear your take on Sony's financial results for the month.
Yeah, we've been saying for a while that Sony is clearly having a quieter year in 2024 compared to 2023, but again, 2023 was a banger. Like, I think in retrospect, 2023 is going to go down as one of the best years in like up there with, what is it, 2008 was the other really good year. And yeah, it's Sony's starting to see it in some of its financial results. I feel like Sony's investors and shareholders probably don't know that much about video games and have a really short memory, because if Sony just kind of adjusts its hardware and software sales targets, then by the time we get to Q2 2024, Sony hasn't really missed any of its targets and it doesn't look that bad. But in any case, I think things like Helldivers 2 probably exceeded expectations somewhat. I don't know how many consoles Helldivers 2 was selling, but from a software perspective, it certainly is overachieving what both the developer and Sony thought it was going to do. And Final Fantasy coming out in a little while here too is probably gonna have a big impact. So I almost feel like Sony's in a position where they are under promising and trying to over deliver for 2024, and just let the wind westerly blow, let the wind blow is what they're trying to do. The other thing we have to remember is that Sony, when they acquired Bungie, they made a statement that they had planned to launch over 10 live service games by the end of fiscal year 2025. I think since then they kind of adjusted those numbers slightly, and some of those titles might be delayed. But at the end of the day, Sony is changing its strategy. So this may be the start of us seeing the effects of the change of Sony, not necessarily relying on like banger after banger of first-party title and more games as a service with in-game microtransactions and things like that. So, I think this may be where that kind of starts. And in the next little while, we'll see Sony relying less on, those hardware and software figures as key performance indicators. And you'll start to see microtransaction and in-game revenue generation as a more important key piece for Sony's investors and shareholders. So again, I think this is kind of a changing of tone for Sony, and it's going to take a couple of years, but we know that they're moving and they have this kind of infatuation with games as a service. So I think they're just kind of changing as a company. So yeah.
Brandon, I want your thoughts on that as well. And also the little piece I mentioned there at the end about rising game cost. Spider-Man 2 sells 10 million copies, but if it costs $300 million to make, that's like 4 million copies at $70 they had to sell to break even. That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of margins for error.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like the bubble, right? We kind of saw a lot of bubbles break last year in the gaming industry. These companies are becoming large. The projects are becoming increasingly expensive. And we've been saying this for years now, that the rising cost of video games is going to have an effect on the market. And I mean, we're clearly seeing it here. I think that it's smart to kind of curb their expectations for this coming year. I feel like, honestly, sales on the current generation console probably have plateaued somewhat. They still have a strong holding on the market, a 2-1 from what I read.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's like you can only saturate the market so much. And I think it is both a mixture of the rising game costs, Sony's strategy to continually make games of this caliber. I think it's something that they can only do for so long. And I think they really are kind of understanding that at this point and kind of drawing it in, so to speak. I'm not in any way worried about Sony. I just think this is a kind of a shift. And I do agree with Dave. As much as I don't like to say it, we really are going to see a different revenue stream in the next coming years from Sony, whether we like it or not. Games as a service are here. They're lucrative. And these companies want to capitalize on it. And making a $300 million game is a lot less, appealing when you have the margins like you talked about, Ben, when you can make a much cheaper game with microtransactions, with the potential, and that's what I say potential, because we talk about how much of a gamble it is, that these live service games truly are. So it is what it is. I don't know if we're going to talk about it later in the show. I don't want to spoil it, but there's been a lot of speculation about the PS5 Pro floating around, coming out at the end of the year. So we'll see. I think that they'll definitely be double dippers. I think that they will definitely draw people in, that didn't get it the first time and they said, oh, I don't really need a PS5. And, you see 4K, you see 120 hertz, even if most people don't know what that means, a lot of people know what 4K is now. It's definitely going to do something. So I don't know. I'm not really that worried about it. Obviously, the shareholders are a little scared when they hear stuff like this, so I understand why the value drops so significantly. And when you have a company that has such a high market value, this seems like a lot of money, because it is. And I'm not saying that this isn't a significant drop, but the company's huge. Like, companies go through shit like this and don't even blink. I mean, somebody's blinking, somebody's panicking, but it's not rough waters for Sony. I don't think we're just going to see a big restructure, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, whenever people come out and either change their anticipated sales or they don't meet those expectations,
right,
you see a big drop. But you see more of a drop when people don't meet what they stated, rather than when they state that they're lowering their expectations. Because when they say they're lowering their expectations, generally they have plans in place to mitigate those. Right. Those losses. But when they just don't meet them, it's kind of a surprise to everybody.
They're being proactive. So that's, of the two options you mentioned, this is the more favorable for everybody. So
I know that, obviously we have PlayStation Plus, and that certainly brings in some money, but Sony really only has their hardware as far as their main drive. Their hardware and software is their main driver. You look at that number, what was it, 50-something million? 50, what did I write here?
55
million. Compared to Xbox's approximately, 30, 35, something like that.
Oh, no, wait, that was units of Spider-Man sold.
Well, they sold Spider-Man 2, they sold 10 million.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, 55 million PS5s. But you look at Xbox that sold just over half of that. And it's they have Game Pass with apparently 35 million subscribers, including Game Pass Core, which used to be Xbox Live Gold. How are they? I mean, I just don't get it. I don't understand how they're making it.
I have a brilliant idea.
And they're buying more things. I guess they're bringing in more money.
Xbox is going to put their games, I bet they put 4 of them on another system. I would bet 4. I don't know why. It's just coming to me. Maybe it's the Mobamba. Maybe it's it's probably spinning wheels up here, buddy. But yeah. I'd bet 4.
I didn't even put that in the news because it wasn't anything. But
we talked about it last week.
Oh, really? I thought that was after you recorded.
No.
But yeah, either way. Okay.
No, yeah, we talked about it.
Cool. That's all I got to say about that. Anybody else have anything further?
Bloodborne will save the company.
If they would just remaster it. Dude, I was in the airport in Miami, and there's a Lego store there. And of course, my kids wanted to look at the Lego store, but more importantly, I wanted to look at the Lego store. Even though I wasn't going to buy Legos at the airport, I needed to go because it was there. And there's a guy working there, and he saw my shirt, and I had on the shirt from the Last Stand event. That was like it was the design, the Houston design was themed like Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
And he's looking at it, and he's like, "Wait, what's that mean? Most overrated?" So I had to explain to him that it was just an event, and it was just the artwork. But he starts talking to me like crazy about Red Dead 2 and about how much he loves it and everything else like that. And I was like, "Yeah, man, I just wish like." I have it on PC now too, but I just wish that they would put out a PS5 patch. He's like, exactly. And he just starts ranting about like, it's still in 30 FPS. There's no excuse. It's Rockstar. They don't care about Red Dead. They only care about GTA Online. It was a good conversation. Like he was pretty knowledgeable about games, but it was just funny because like even random Lego store employee at the Miami airport knows how important updated frame rates are to great games that could live on forever. I mean, honestly, I've never played Bloodborne, and I had the chance to play it in the PS4 era. I get that. But when I finally went to play it, after games were moving to 60 FPS, and it was in 30, I just couldn't. I couldn't do it.
It's ugly.
And for me,
it's so ugly.
Until I can play it in 60, I probably won't, honestly. Now, I know that I could play a game in 30, and it's not the end of the world, but I just have so many other games to play that I'm like, well, why don't I just wait for this? Yeah. So it just... I guess that just goes to reiterate your point that put it in 60 and sell it to me for $70. I don't care. I'll play it. I'll buy it. I get it. Number 2. Sega leaker Midori, who has been right on pretty much every Sega leak he's had in the past, shared details on Twitter about Sega's plans for reboots of the Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio franchises. These reboots are part of Sega's current Super Game initiative. According to Midori, the upcoming Crazy Taxi reboot will be a live service game, drawing inspiration from titles like Fortnite and Grand Theft Auto Online. Similarly, the Jet Set Radio reboot will feature graffiti and gunplay elements set in an open world with multiple playable characters. When asked about a single-player mode for Jet Set Radio, Midori confirmed there will be a completely new story. However, there are concerns about microtransactions, with Midori confirming they will be present in the games. In addition to the reboots, both franchises will receive remakes of their first games, without any live service elements to be released at full price. While no release dates are confirmed, the remakes are expected to be available in 2026. Brandon, I don't know if you're a fan of either of these games from days gone by, but can you imagine a Crazy Taxi with live service elements? I know they can figure out how to put them in there, but it just doesn't seem right.
I'm going to be honest with you, yes.
Yeah.
We now live in a society.
We live in a society.
We now live in a society that anything can be made money from. Anything. Yeah. I'm waiting for them to start making money off us breathing air. Mm-hmm. This is
that's called a HEPA filter.
Oh, buddy, they already did it. Fuck me.
Just fake science out here. This will make your air better. Like air's bad. Air can't be possibly bad for you, right?
God damn. I mean, it is what it is. It's just, it is sad to see when old things come back. Not quite as upsetting as the free to play Elden Ring, but
mobile free to play Elden Ring.
I'm still upset about that, guys. I've been thinking about it for weeks. But yeah, this is weird. It's just like, am I tripping? I'm a complete moron. I haven't played any. Who makes Like a Dragon? Is this Sega?
It's Sega publishes it.
Okay, so if they're willing to make you pay for New Game Plus, why would this be above them?
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean? It's just like, it's just par for the course, really. And it sucks because both of these games, I know factually, even though I've not played them, are beloved IP. So for them to come back, I mean, they did it to Crash, like nobody's safe at this point. Dave, any thoughts? Have you played these games?
Yes, I played both. Crazy Taxi is probably the one that I would gravitate to more. But I'm with you. It's kind of naive to expect anything to come out in 2024 and not, or think it's not going to have some sort of in-game revenue generation. Especially from somebody like Sega. And you bring up another point that they have a track record of being kind of shittier about this than normal. But again, any big publisher is going to be doing this, and unfortunately, it's a proven method. It's working. It's a way to generate extra revenue in game. It's working across the industry. So why wouldn't Sega do it? We'll continue to see this until it stops working. So I mean, there's thousands of people out there who are purchasing microtransactions. So as long as it's working, we're going to see more of it. The thing I don't like is that Sega is using nostalgia as a way to draw people into microtransactions. I think that's kind of shitty, but again, it doesn't surprise me. And at this point, I'm kind of expecting that this is just going to be the norm. I don't know why, but the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game that came out recently, that was a game that like was a similar kind of concept where it was not necessarily a remake, but really played on nostalgia. I don't think it had any microtransactions. It was just a good game. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll get lucky, and maybe the leaker Midori is wrong. Maybe he's drunk, and we'll have to throw him in the longboat until he's sober. But I don't know. It's
no chance.
It just is kind of the way things are going.
You're talking about Shredder's Revenge?
Yes.
Yeah.
Came out. Really, really good. $25, no microtransactions. Really good game. I don't know if they made any money on it, but it certainly was a good game.
Oh, boys.
Like fan service just for the sake of fan service, I don't think makes money these days. Not like a live service game does. So the other thing I forgot to mention is there's a good chance that this Crazy Taxi game will come out, and the three of us will easily be able to enjoy it without having to spend a single cent. So Sega's going to be smart enough to put something out that isn't like microtransaction heavy, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is these days.
Boys, hold the phones. I made it into Helldivers. Let's go. I'm not going to play it during the show, but I made it in. We're in. Oh, fuck yeah, boys. I made it. I just had to celebrate there for a minute. I really wasn't sure that it was going to happen. All right. I'm sorry.
We'll chat about it later.
I thought I read that they added in an AFK kick to orbit.
I think they're going to.
Not yet.
If they did it yet.
Thank goodness. I need it tonight. Sorry, I'm the problem, okay?
You're the problem. You're the reason. One other person can't get in right now.
I'll fist fight them. Dude, that would be respectable. Spawn me into an arena. Yeah. We will duel like men for the spot in the queue. That seems reasonable.
Well, they're not adding in PvP because they want to remove toxic elements from the game. I read that earlier today.
I saw that as well.
So, sorry.
Good call. Well, I mean, there kind of is PvP. I shoot you all the time.
That's true. Yeah, that's fair.
Dude, first night, Ben shot me once by accident, and I just turned right around and unloaded an entire clip into his body.
And then you threw a grenade into the extraction vehicle. Yeah. Number 3.
I'm sorry.
According to a Brazilian journalist, Nintendo's next-gen console, referred to by many, including us, as the Switch 2, is reportedly delayed until Q1 2025. This information comes from multiple industry sources, with Eurogamer and Bloomberg also corroborating the news. Now, important note that I didn't write in here, we did not ever have a confirmation that it was launching in 2024, so to say it's delayed till 2025 just means that Nintendo internally delayed it. Doesn't mean that we knew that. The delay is said to allow Nintendo to bolster the launch lineup with stronger first-party titles. Despite the delay, developers are reportedly working on Switch 2 games planned for release alongside the console in early 2025. While Nintendo has not publicly commented on the delay, it was widely expected that the Switch successor would launch this year. Nintendo's president declined to comment on plans for the next-generation console, emphasizing that the current Nintendo Switch iteration remains the company's main focus headed into 2024. Speculation suggests that the new Nintendo console could launch at $400, $100 higher than the Switch's launch price, with game prices potentially adopting the $70 standard seen on other platforms. The next console is expected to retain portable functionality, as previously reported, and I think I also saw reports that it would be backwards compatible as well. Dave, as the number one Switch connoisseur on the HP podcast, are you jonesing for a new Switch? Are you ready for one, or are you still kind of happy with what you got?
I'm happy with what I have, but I think in the last year I've really grown a new respect for my Switch. So if a new one came out, I'd have a look. Brandon and I discussed last week a story about Nintendo's strategy going into the launch of new hardware and how they weren't going to be taking the success of the Switch for granted and make the same mistakes that they did with the launch of the Wii U. So, we're never going to get confirmation of whether this was actually delayed or not, but I think what we can safely say is they're taking their time with it, which it signals to me that they are taking this strategy serious and they aren't taking their position with the Nintendo Switch for granted. And we also chatted last week about how the Wii U, I think one of the reasons it failed, among just, consumer confusion, was that it didn't have enough good software on it when it launched. So, if Nintendo is taking their time with the Switch 2 to ensure that we have a couple bangers at launch, then take your time. Because that's what I think is going to ensure that the Switch 2 gets a really, really good start. Nintendo does kind of strike me as the company that probably would do what they want when they want in terms of launching new hardware. They're kind of the bully in the alley. But I do kind of wonder if Nintendo was holding off to see if Sony or Microsoft, more specifically Sony, was going to launch something in and around the same window that they were eyeing for Switch 2. We talked earlier about a potential PS5 Pro. I would think that Nintendo would probably want to avoid the launch of a PS5 Pro for their Switch 2, just because, there's obviously going to be technical differences there that make the Switch 2 look less attractive or just kind of take the spotlight off it. Again, something we'll never know, but I can't help but think, like, strategically, Nintendo maybe wants to find a spot of their own to launch Switch 2. So, yeah, good for you, Nintendo. Take your time. I will, maybe I'll be there on day one. I feel like I could be.
Brandon, do you remember the not us per se, but the bigger industry-wide conversation around the original launch of the Switch? There are no games for it. When it came out, there was Zelda, there was Puyo Puyo Tetris, there was eventually games. Mario Odyssey.
Yeah.
There was not really a whole lot, and look how well it's done. Do you think it matters? I mean, obviously Nintendo, well, not obviously, but according to the leaker, Nintendo thinks it matters.
I mean, it certainly does matter. I think that Nintendo, I do agree with Dave. I think that launching around another big system is not necessarily advantageous, but something that I've said about Nintendo once, and I'll say it again, is that they kind of work in their own sphere. As you said, the Japanese bully in the alley. But they're really trying to do something, and we did kind of talk about it last week, but they can't really catch lightning in the bottle again. I really don't think it's gonna be as successful as the first one. Like I don't think it's literally possible. Like unless something insane happens, I think they would just be happy to do 3/4 of the success. They just don't want a good one and a bad one like they've had, kind of like we mentioned last week. But yeah, I mean, as far as the Switch 2, does it really intrigue me? Not really, especially now with having a PC. We don't know much about the Switch 2, almost anything at all, even if that's what it's called. But if I could still play Switch 2 games on my Switch 1, then there's even less of an incentive. Nintendo has been pretty good for themselves about separating the generations and bad for the consumer. But I don't know. I kind of hope it is cross-generational. There's been some buzz about it, but only rumors up until this point. So yeah, I don't know, man. I said a lot of what I had to say last week, but I hope it does well. And it's going to do well because it's Nintendo. And the reality is, even the Wii U sold a bunch. It just didn't sell as much as its other should. So, yeah, I guess we'll see, man. Next year is going to be crazy. So,
it's funny because right now in my head, I'm like, I don't need a Switch 2, but I know good and well I'm going to buy it. Like,
yeah.
Of course I am.
I just don't. Yeah, I don't care.
It's got to be. I feel like Metroid Prime 4 would be a good launch title. It'd have to be on both, but maybe that's what they're, because we haven't heard about that in a while.
But.
Dude, where's the next 3D Mario? That'd be a good launch title. It's been enough years. I'm not saying
5
that
years,
would
right? 6 years.
I'm not saying that would make me buy the console by any means. But
7 years.
that would be something I'm interested in. Of all things, you know, obviously we had a mainline Zelda game very recently, and so that's kind of not in the cards. But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Odyssey successor when this comes out.
I just assume that, knowing your relationship with Nintendo, that they would just send you one, Brandon, straight to your door.
Yeah, I know. It's just because me and Reggie are so tight now that he's not working for them exactly. It's just like they feel weird about me now. It's not about anything I said, though.
Number 4. In 2023, consumer spending on the PC Epic Games Store increased by 16% to $950 million, although spending on third-party PC games decreased by 13% to $310 million. The top titles included Fortnite, Rocket League, Genshin Impact, Dead Island 2, and Grand Theft Auto 5. By the way, I want to point out here, Fortnite, Rocket League, Genshin Impact, 3 free-to-play games were their top earners. Incredible. The store's user base grew by 17% to 270 million, with Epic cross-platform accounts rising by nearly 11% to 804 million. The catalog of games nearly doubled to over 1,300 new titles, thanks to new self-publishing options for developers. However, the number of free games declined, with 86 games offered in promotions compared to 99 in 2022. These free games were claimed a total of 586 million times, down from nearly 700 million the previous year. Epic also announced to launch an iOS store in Europe this year, operated by Epic Games Sweden AB. Dave, I know you're not as much of a PC gamer these days as you used to be, but Epic Games just raking in cash. I don't think this in any way, shape, or form gets even slightly close to touching Steam's numbers, but for a launcher that a lot of people didn't want and still won't use, $1 billion isn't bad.
Yeah, certainly isn't. I mean, you're right. I'm sort of like a jolly sou'wester, and steady she goes when it comes to PC gaming, and I just kind of stick to Steam. But when I was reading this, I kind of thought to myself, the only times that I've gone in and used Epic Game Stores, there was 2 occasions. One was, correct me if I'm wrong, but Grand Theft Auto 5 was free at one point, and I think that's when the 3 of us played, plus Dustin.
Yeah.
And then the other time was when Remnant, the original Remnant, was free on Epic Game Stores, and I claimed it, and I played it quite a bit there. Otherwise, I have zero reason to go on Epic Game Store. I understand when you're sort of the exclusive PC home of things like Fortnite and Rocket League. That's a massive reason for a lot of people to go, but other than that, I don't know a reason why I would choose to purchase something on Epic over Steam. So I'm not sure that these storefronts really have gotten to a point where they can differentiate themselves enough, other than what games they're offering free. Because other than some isolated examples, that there isn't really a whole lot of exclusivity when it comes to storefronts. So there are the big ones, but yeah, I don't know. Those are impressive numbers for the Epic Game Store, but how they catch up to Steam, I don't know. Can they offer games cheaper, have better sales? Maybe. I don't know what the reason why I would go to them over Steam would be. And I'm kind of curious from you guys, like, have you guys purchased a game on Epic Game Store over Steam before? And if so, why?
If available on both platforms, I have never chosen to purchase one on Epic. But there have been plenty of games that have been exclusive to Epic that I have bought there. I shouldn't say plenty. There have been a few games. And of course, I played on there a ton, not just with Fortnite, but also with, games that you get for free, whether it's through Epic or through Prime Gaming or whatever the case may be. But yeah, to your point, I've never been like, oh, this game is $60 on Steam or $60 on Epic, I'll buy it on Epic. That's never happened for me. Brandon, you're kind of in the same boat, I think.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I do think it's really funny, all the haters on the Epic Store. And I'm not like an Epic shill or anything. I've talked highly of Epic on the show before, but I agree with you too. I don't really have much of a much of a reason. Even as a blossoming PC player, it's just there's not really anything better about Epic except for clicking the button on my screen and clicking a free game every once in a while. It's just or booting Fortnite. You know, I don't play Rocket League, I don't play Genshin, so it's just Epic's raking in money, and they always rake in money. They find out how to somehow. But we just learned a couple months ago they're still losing money on the Epic Store. So like this is just very confusing to me, just in general. But to all the haters, look at these numbers. You know, obviously some of the haters kind of shifted in the dark, so to speak. But yeah, this is not surprising, especially with Fortnite in that category, specifically Fortnite. This number wouldn't even just shock me if it was almost entirely Fortnite, to be completely honest with you. I would imagine a large majority of it has been. Not to kind of diminish Rocket League or Genshin, but I mean,
I was wondering that, like, what percentage of that $950 million is just Fortnite? I would imagine that Fortnite's intake on the consoles combined is I mean, I shouldn't say combined. Fortnite on each different console is probably higher than Epic's.
Dude, I would say like 700 million of that, like easily, honestly. Yeah. You know, 200 mil for the other guys, like, and that would be good. That would be good for those other games to get 200 mil. But, you know, Fortnite's nothing to fuck with, and it's been this way for years and years. But, yeah, crazy stuff, man.
Alan Wake I didn't put this in the notes, but Alan Wake just announced that they were at 1.2 million.
Yeah.
And of course they launched on Epic exclusively for PC, but who knows how many of those consoles were PC versus console.
Do you think that will go multi-plat at some point?
A multi-plat as in to Steam?
Yeah.
It depends on the deal they worked out, honestly.
Yeah.
Because some, as we see with other platforms, other consoles and stuff, some games are exclusive forever based on their funding deal, and some aren't.
Yeah.
So I think that did hurt its sales on PC, but I don't have any evidence to back that up other than anecdotally.
Yeah.
But yeah, 1.2 million for them. It was sold for $50. That's a pretty cheap game. If they said they recouped all their costs and it propelled them to do their next game. I'm wondering if Epic didn't give them, basically say, hey, we'll cover all your development costs if you give us exclusivity and you let us put an Alan Wake skin in Fortnite, which they did. It would not surprise me if that's what happened, because they have money to burn. They don't have as much as everybody else does. Not everybody else, but a lot of other people do. But Epic has that Fortnite money, that kid money.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Gen Alpha
money. Is that what it's called? Is that a new thing?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Are my kids in Gen Alpha?
I think so.
Interesting. Number 5. Arrowhead, developers of Helldivers 2, is grappling with server capacity issues through the game's explosive launch. Despite efforts to increase server capacity, ongoing problems persist, prompting the team to apologize and assure players they're working on a fix. With an unprecedented peak concurrent player count of over 400,000 on Steam alone, surpassing titles like Grand Theft Auto 5 and Destiny 2, Helldivers 2 has encountered significant server issues, including a black screen bug for PC players and servers at capacity messages on both PC and PS5. To address these issues, Arrowhead plans to release updates this week targeting login, matchmaking, and server load problems. However, Arrowhead CEO has advised potential buyers to wait until the server issues are resolved, acknowledging the frustration players may experience. His honesty has been appreciated by the community, with players understanding the need to wait for a smoother experience. Additionally, Arrowhead is considering implementing an away-from-keyboard AFK auto-kick to prevent players like Brandon from unnecessarily blocking others from joining matches. Now, I did have this as leading right into what we've been playing, so we could talk about it along with that. But I noticed there's another thing here. So let's just talk first about, whatever. First of all, somebody wrote in here, Elden Ring DLC trailer tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern.
Guess who wrote it?
I bet it was you, Brandon. I was going to include it, but I was like, what is there to talk about? We haven't even seen the trailer yet. But,
dude,
take it away, dude.
Fuck me. It's amazing, bro. we've learned nothing, and I'm currently playing Elden Ring, so this is good.
You're currently
news.
playing 3 different playthroughs of Elden Ring.
I am actually.
Yeah.
I'm a mad lad.
So Brandon, what are you hoping to see? If you could think of one thing that you're hoping to see in this trailer tomorrow, what is it?
Honestly, anything. like that is such a cop-out answer, but like I have full faith. Every DLC that's been put out in recent years has been immaculate, and they've already talked about how it's a substantial DLC. This is the only one I think they've said they're planning to do. And yeah, big DLC, always come out with good shit. I've been watching a lot of PvPers online, and they're like speculating like Madness Katana would be really cool. Some sort of sleep magic would be really cool. Stuff that like they have in the game as modifiers, but they don't have specific build options for that. So I would love to see them expand upon that and maybe even add a new modifier. So always good. Dark Souls 3 DLC was 10 out of 10. So I'm really, really genuinely looking forward to it. And we're finally getting some news. There's been speculation out the ass on the internet about this after they updated some files. So nonetheless, that's all I have to say. Arrowhead having some problems.
Yeah.
Boys.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's going on?
I've seen a lot of people who supposedly know about servers and how things work, and I do believe it's more complicated than you would think. Like, well, just turn on more servers. It's apparently not that easy, which I don't doubt at all. But what a good problem to have that too many people want to play your game.
Right.
Like their expectations for this were probably high, but I think I'll own up and say, months ago on the show, I think I even said like, I'm looking forward to Helldivers, but I'm just afraid it's not going to sell very well because there seems to be no hype about it. And boy, I got the exact opposite of that. There's so much hype about it that people can't even play it. There's so many people wanting to play it. Yeah, so it's certainly an interesting thing. I don't know. Brandon, you and I have, for several nights in a row, just waited in queues. The first week it was out, we didn't have to do that as much, but obviously as the player count has grown, we've definitely had to do so. Dave, I'm curious what you think about the fact that they say their server caps are at like 450, but we've seen 400 plus trying to play on Steam.
Yeah. First of all, it's absolutely outrageous that this game has beaten Grand Theft Auto 5 for the peak concurrent player count. So good for them. That's a huge accolade for them to knock off such a dynamo as Grand Theft Auto 5. But yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about this last week too, and I am considering how much Sony was pushing this game. I am surprised that this reception was as much of a surprise as it's come to Sony and Arrowhead. This is 2 weeks now that we've been talking about this, and you can give them the benefit of the doubt for so long, but I do appreciate the honesty coming from Arrowhead saying, if you're thinking about buying it, maybe hold off. Like, you don't hear things like that very often, and the fact that Sony let him say something like that is pretty impressive. But I don't know, the leash for this sort of thing is pretty short. One of the things we did mention as well before was when it comes to server complexity, I think what he was saying was like, you'd never really know how a server is going to react when that many people come in at once. So it's not as simple as just adding lanes to a highway sort of thing. So I feel for him, but they better get this sorted out quick because they are going to lose people just to sheer frustration. So yeah, good for them, and I'm happy they got that record. That's pretty cool.
Now, Brandon, on to what we've been playing, I suppose, to continue talking about Helldivers. You and I have both been playing. You've been playing, I think, a little bit more than I don't know. Well, I don't know if you've actually gotten to play more than I have or not, but tell me about what you've been playing this week, including Helldivers and whatever else.
Yeah, man. Elden Ring, obviously. Was talking about that a bit, but I don't really care about that right now. I'm going to talk about Helldivers. I do care about it, but we're talking about Helldivers, boys. I'll just touch on real quick. Congratulations, Arrowhead. I do agree with Dave. I think a little bit of the goodwill is being soured, but the cultural phenomenon I've almost seen unwind from this game has really been telling as to like the quality and the just the overall vibes of the game in general, man. It's been crazy. I'm looking at Helldivers, the first one on Steam charts, and all-time peak is about 6,600. So to go from that to the heights they're at, beating a Titan like GTA 5, and being the second highest played game on Steam, right below Counter-Strike, is crazy. It's just crazy, man. Bestseller on PlayStation, beating out Fortnite. It's great, man. It's good. And even though I am willing to give them some grace, I think that they are towing a thin line right now. And I think that at some point there will be, a breaking point. I think that the game has enough goodwill at this point that they won't lose everybody, but I think more casual people will start to get really frustrated. They did just put out a patch today that stopped the black screen, which is good because that was the most frustrating part of all the things possible, was that, you don't just see that you're retrying the queue, like you see nothing. And that's even more aggravating than, knowing that at least you're waiting in line. But this game is awesome, dude. It's so cinematic. The microtransactions are incredibly fair. The gameplay is incredibly fun. I love killing my friends and the bugs and the robots. It is Robot Vietnam. And just like I said, the culture, like something about the culture and the memes I'm seeing. It reminds me when really great games come out, guys, when really, really good games come out, some of the culture that comes from it is amazing. Like when Elden Ring came out, the culture from Elden Ring on Twitter was phenomenal. And I still see little glimpses of it here and there. But I love when good games come out because they are proven good, not only by the game itself, but by the things that are created from the experiences that are had in the games. And so I've been having a lot of fun. The server problems obviously have been incredibly frustrating, especially when 4 of your friends get on, 4 including you get on, and you try for 2 hours and everyone's playing but you. That certainly is something that is a bit souring. But nonetheless, I think that they are taking steps forward. I wish it was a little bit more expedient, but I do appreciate the honesty. And I agree, something like sitting in a server all day is incredibly scummy. I'm not gonna give myself a pass. But I think the real problem we're running into is like when you see screenshots on Reddit of people being in the game for 3 days and not logging out. I think that's really like the biggest problem that's happening. Me trying to log in so I can play a single time tonight while I'm recording the show, I don't think it's as much of a problem. But I would love to see them put in a 10 or 15-minute timeout. I think that would significantly help the load on the server. So, but it's been a riot. It's been an absolute riot. Solo is terrifying. it's hard, man. Even on some easier missions, it can be quite hectic. But playing with the boys, one of my favorite things to do is throw the airstrikes right and just watch the bugs and the robots fly into the sky when you kill them. But what can happen is you can throw it perfectly on something that's still moving, and that thing continues to trudge forward towards you. There's been a couple times that I've landed an airstrike on a bug that's then jumped towards me, and it's just it provides some wacky moments just organically, and I think that's due to the community obviously playing the game, but I think it's also due to like good game design, and I think that can't be understated in this game. Is that when you are able to get into the game, it runs well, it plays well mechanically, the systems are good and they're fair, and yeah, it's a whole hell of a lot of fun. So, Ben, what were you thinking, my man? I know you were having some fun.
Yeah, I mean, I played probably in the first 2 days it was out. I played probably like 15 hours of it. I guess I haven't gotten to talk about it on this show because I was gone, but I was worried whenever I played, initially, and I knew I was leaving for a week. I was not worried, but like thinking like, oh man, everybody's gonna be way out leveled me. Not that the levels affect they do somewhat affect your gameplay, but everybody's gonna have squads, and I'm not gonna be able to play with anybody. Like that was kind of running through my head, and then I got back, and it was like nobody's been able to play the whole time you've been gone. So we're all kind of at the same place still. So obviously, I'm not actually happy that they've been having issues, but yeah, the game is loads of fun. I'll echo a lot of the things you said, or I won't echo a lot of the things you said because I have the same things to say. But just the sheer calamity of the entire game is awesome. It's hysterical. The game is intentionally funny in many ways, and also I think unintentionally funny in many ways. Like the instance you mentioned, where like you can throw and sticky onto a bug and have it like wreak havoc on your entire crew. Like you don't get those moments very often in games, and it makes it hard to create them, to try to create that kind of dynamic gameplay that it's different every time. You're playing the same missions over and over again, but it's still different somehow every time you're playing it.
Right.
And that's really tough to be able to make repeatedly fun. And it is repeatedly fun. So that's a good sign, a good thing for me, because I tend to go really hard in games and then wear myself out and not want to play them anymore. And with this one, I thought by 20, 25 hours in at this point that I'd be done. And that is not the case at all.
Just getting started.
Just getting barely cracking the surface, baby. Now, I do have one complaint about the game. Like you said, everything runs perfectly. It's so much fun when you're actually in the game. My biggest complaint with this game is that there are certain guns that are locked behind certain guns, weapons, perks, whatever, that are locked behind the premium battle pass. And I don't ever love battle pass restricting any kind of gameplay. Battle pass all day for cosmetics, I do not care because that's completely optional. Does not actually impact your gameplay experience, with the exception of not being able to look like a certain character. Whatever. That's fine. But I don't like the fact that Helldivers 2, in order to receive certain weapons, you do have to have the premium battle pass to get them. So that's not I'm not a real big fan of that. I don't mind grinding for it if it's something that could be obtained for free, but I don't like the fact that after I paid for a game, that I also have to pay for a battle pass and progress it in order to get those rewards that do directly impact the gameplay. So that's my only nitpick, though, really. And I think the fact that they made it $40 game.
Yeah,
I think there's some excusability there, because if it was a $70 game and there was a battle pass that unlocked gameplay perks, then I'd be way more upset. But $40 game, you got to pay $10 to unlock some weapons. Okay, I can deal with it.
Devil's advocate, and I'm not saying it's good or bad, because I actually genuinely agree with you there.
Mm-hmm.
I would say of all games in recent memory that have something similar to what you're describing, this one seems relatively fair.
Yeah,
with the amount of time that it would take to unlock. So that's the one thing I will say about it. Even though I don't like it either, I agree with you 100%. I think that simply playing the game it would take a reasonable amount of time to unlock what you therefore would spend money on.
Right. And in fairness, I think you can earn, with the free battle pass tier, you can earn 750 premium credits, plus you can earn them in game, like you can pick them up in the world. So realistically, you can buy the full price, the real money battle pass with in-game currency if you play enough. So I do like that there is that opportunity for that as well. But I still maintain that it is. I don't want to use the word scummy. This isn't scummy to me, like, paying full price for Avengers and then having to pay for a battle pass for each character. That's a totally different level of scumminess. I'm talking about with this one, like the fact that you pay for the game and then have to pay to unlock certain weapons specifically.
Right.
I don't love that. But again, I'll give it a pass because of its price points, but I still think it's not a good practice. I would not ever advocate for it. Obviously, the financial situation, they had no idea how popular it was going to be. You got to make your money back. I get it, but I don't like it as a precedent, because it's huge. It's hugely successful. Other people are going to do this, and other people have done it obviously in the past, but that just kind of sucks to me. It also kind of sucks, like, I hate in Call of Duty when you have to, when you buy the battle pass to unlock weapons. Well, sorry. You unlock the weapons naturally for free. I don't think you have to have the battle pass, but you do have to progress. I don't mind having to play the game a lot to unlock something. Progression is fine with me. I just dislike having to pay for it and also progress it. So
right.
That's just my little rant on that.
I just don't even know why you would buy Avengers.
I don't know, Brandon. No, it's not like one of my most trusted confidants in the entire world told me it was great. And he was having a lot of fun with it.
If I ever recommend anything superhero to you ever, just never listen to me. I'm going to say that from this point forward. If I recommend anything, just say, Brandon, no. Just scold me like a dog. No.
Okay. Now, in fairness, I did have some fun with it, but I will say the first 3 nights in a row, I booted up that game to play with you. I blue screened multiple times and flew across the map unintentionally. So,
But that's all I've been playing. That's it. So,
Davey, on to you. You've got one game in common with me and one game I am eagerly anticipating hearing about. Eagerly.
Where do you want me to start?
Let's start with the one we have in common, so I can chime in.
Okay,
too.
So that's
we'll save the Skull and Bones for the climax of the show here.
ooh.
Okay. So yeah, we've both been playing Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I downloaded this game, I didn't actually know. I kind of thought it was a twin stick shooter. I really wasn't sure, but the point is it said Deep Rock Galactic in the title, and it was $10.
Correct.
So I'm there. It's out in early access now on Steam. I picked it up. This is my first experience with a game in I guess what you would call the Survivor subgenre. I guess when Vampire Survivors came out last year or the year before, it spawned a number of offshoots or clones, whatever you want to call it. So this
a lot of people call it auto shooter. That's
auto shooter,
as
yeah,
a genre,
fair enough.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I didn't know about this is that, again, I got into the game and I was like, how do I shoot? And I'm like, my guy is just shooting. So I didn't know that. But yeah, my first experience with an auto shooter, and I really like it. It's simple. It's fun. It's addicting. There's a constant stream of rewards that make you kind of want to push further and further. I really like that even if you die in one of your deep dives, you still get a substantial amount of credit and things to make it so your next run is a little bit more successful. There's a number of different stats that you can kind of invest in to make your next run, make you better, such as, fire rate, mining speed is a big one. Just the speed at which your character moves, obviously health and damage and stuff like that. So again, this being my first experience in the auto shooter genre, I did a little bit of research on some of the other ones, and I actually think the use of Deep Rock Galactic in this genre is kind of brilliant because I don't think the focus is as much on killing enemies that are on screen that are quickly multiplying. I think there is also a really strong focus on mining throughout the level. Not only going out and tracking down resources, but also terraforming the level in a way that makes it so you can kind of defend yourself and kite enemies in certain areas. So I think kind of the use of Deep Rock Galactic in the genre works really, really, really well. So yeah, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, I'm having a great time with it. It's $10. It might be a little bit more expensive because I think that was like a day one discount, but in any case, it's a lot of people on Twitch who I've never seen play Deep Rock Galactic are playing it. So it seems to be, pretty well received. And again, it's an early access, so it's going to be evolving quite a bit. But I don't know, Ben, what were your thoughts? I saw some comments you had about playing it on the Steam Deck over the weekend.
I've been playing it on both PC and on Steam Deck, and if this tells you anything, I got it 2 days ago. I did not play today, and I have like 10 hours in it. So about 10 hours in 2 days, which in fairness, I think at least 3 of those hours I played on my Steam Deck while waiting in queue for Helldivers. So, I was double dipping a little bit there, I guess you could say. But agreed, Dave, with almost everything you're saying. Well, with everything you're saying. Very, I love Vampire Survivors. But the one complaint I had with it was just a little too simple. Like, when you go in between levels in Vampire Survivors, you have the ability to upgrade different things and to make your character more powerful, to unlock new characters with different abilities, and you have the ability in the game to level up one specific thing. But I feel like for whatever reason, Deep Rock Survivors mechanics in that respect are much more, I feel like I'm doing more. Like the decisions I'm making actually impact. Which power up I pick has more of a direct effect on my game than it seems to in games like Vampire Survivors. The thing you mentioned about it being almost as important to survive as it is to mine, I totally agree with, because there have been times where I was like, I haven't seen that mineral in this entire map that I'm on right now. So I'm going to go and get it, even though I know that by the time I'm done mining it, they are going to overtake me and I'm going to die. Because like that's the progression. So like there's sometimes that decision between surviving and building up your resources to be able to upgrade your character more, so that next time you'll be a little better off. I've played all 3 of the maps that there are so far. Obviously, I played the first one the most, and the other 2 I've played less. But unlocked all 4 characters at this point, although I have not played one of them. I can't remember which one. I think the engineer. I haven't played the engineer. But I just love the way that the game is very much reminiscent of a game like Vampire Survivors, a tried and true, tested, addictive formula, while also adding in these more complicated elements that make it more dynamic and make you feel like you're controlling what's happening a little bit more. I will also say that as a Deep Rock Galactic fan, I am really pleasantly surprised. I'm happy with the fact that there are so many direct things that harken back to the other games. I mean, basically in this, it's almost like you're playing Deep Rock Galactic, but you're in this top-down perspective. But, you know, the characters are saying very similar lines. You're still getting the shout-outs for Carl here and there. A lot of the voice lines probably are reused from Deep Rock Galactic, and that's fine with me because it's in a different context and it's the same developers and everything. But there are a lot of things that are more specific to what you're doing at the moment. So it's a lot of fun. It's got the same level of charm as Deep Rock, even though it's not, you know, the same game. It's still got a lot of those things that make Deep Rock really special and make the 3 of us and many millions of other people love it. I'm excited to see where they go with it. The one thing I will say that I will be disappointed if they never do is making it co-op, because this is the type of game. I mean, Deep Rock is obviously like, you can play it solo, but it obviously shines when you're playing it with a full crew. And I feel like Survivor, you know, they'll have to do a lot of tweaks to get it to the point where it can have co-op. But Deep Rock Survivor is absolutely perfect as a single-player game, and it would only add to it and make it better and way more fun as a multiplayer game. Because I feel like with Deep Rock Galactic original, you can play solo, and it's fine. You're having a good time, but, you know, you're still solo. And you're not getting the tools and equipment all the other players have. With Deep Rock Survivor, you can play it solo. You never have to worry about having another person on your crew, but having other people on your crew would just be so much fun, in my opinion. So, you know, 5 stars, 10 out of 10, whatever you want to call it, early access or not, this is as good as a finished product to me. I mean, I have seen some spots where it's like I'm going to select the power up and it says like insert text, and as soon as I hover over that, like it fills it in. Like, you know, they just haven't fixed that bug yet or whatever, but that's not a lot to complain about for me. So I'm having a blast with it. I love it. And like I said, it is a great handheld game. So either Steam Deck or whenever they eventually bring it, this will be an easy game to port to Switch, in my opinion. So hopefully they'll be able to do that once they launch into for a full release. But Dave, now for the real meat of the show here. The thing
you all came here to see, which is my new GameCube purchases. Which
okay,
yeah. This goes back to my. I'm gonna finish with this. This goes back to one of my resolutions, which was to purchase at least 5 physical games throughout the year. So I got 3. So I just want to quickly show what I got. Soul Calibur 2 on Nintendo GameCube. This game, I do not play fighting games. I think I played some of a Tekken game once, but the reason why I wanted to get this game was because I remember when this game came out and thinking it was so cool that there were 3 different versions of Soul Calibur, and each one had its own guest character in the game. So obviously the GameCube one has Link in it. He's on the cover there. The PlayStation one had like Heihachi from Tekken, which I thought was wild because it's like that's a competing sort of fighting game. And then the Xbox version had Spawn. So yeah, back in the day when like you could get 3 completely different games on different platforms, and this is a game that kind of reminded me of that. The second game is Resident Evil. This is the remake on GameCube. This is probably the one I'm most looking forward to playing because I've never played the remake. So yeah, that's cool. And then Resident Evil 4, a GameCube classic, obviously the first place that Resident Evil 4 launched. I did play this, so I don't know if I'm going to rush to play it, but I think it's cool to have if you're collecting GameCube titles. And I like it too because it's not the player's choice. It's just the sort of vanilla. So
it's so funny to me that Resident Evil 4 was birthed on the Nintendo console.
Yeah. Big time. Remember that chainsaw controller that it launched with?
Yes. I don't think I ever held one, but I remember seeing it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll see you guys next week.
Wow, that's it, Dave, huh? You don't have anything else to talk about?
I'm kidding. Skull and Bones. I almost did not play Skull and Bones, and I'll tell you why. I was aware that this game was it had online elements. I did not realize that PlayStation Plus was required in order to play this game. So I purchased the game on Friday, I downloaded it, and I went to boot it up, and it said PlayStation Plus is required. Boys, I was prepared to come on the show today and say, I'm sorry, I agreed to buy Skull and Bones, but not a PlayStation Plus subscription. The reason I'm telling you this is just as a little PSA, probably more of a reminder for people, but because Sony is scummy, if you download a game from the PlayStation Store, you cannot return it. Yeah. They offer return reasons such as you changed your mind, you're not satisfied with the product, but I don't know how it's possible to use those reasons to return something when they won't let you download it. Steam, as we know, you can download, install, and play a game for up to 2 hours on Steam and still return it. So I don't know why Sony does that, but I did. I actually tried to return Skull and Bones because I was so upset about the PlayStation Plus thing.
So wait. I want to know what would have happened. This is a little bit getting into the weeds here, but so you had a resolution that you were going to fail. So you made another resolution that you then did fail. And you had a punishment for that you changed out the punishment for your punishment to play Skull and Bones, and you were going to fail that one as well. What happens after that? Does the entire universe collapse?
It's moot because I'm playing the game, and
it's moot for this time. But what happens when Brandon eventually plays Call of Duty?
But I was prepared to come and say, you know what, I'm at the mercy of you guys, but that kind of pissed me off. So
yeah, I understand that for sure.
Maybe we'll have to talk about it at some point. But Skull and Bones. I'm here to tell you guys that I'm really enjoying Skull and Bones. I'm still early days. I'm about 6 or 7 hours, but I think that's enough time to kind of grasp whether or not you're going to love or hate something. And I am aware of some of the reactions and reviews that are going around online, and I think some of it's fair. I think some of it is just because people like to beat up on Ubisoft, and this game has had kind of a weird development cycle, but you're not here to listen to me talk about what other people think. But Skull and Bones is something I'm having a lot of fun with. I think it's exactly what Ubisoft promised us 100 years ago when they said what we're going to deliver is a game that is focused solely on sailing and the sailing experience, and it's going to be much more fleshed out. And it's not going to be Black Flag 2. There's nothing, you are never getting off your ship to fight other people in anything other than your ship. You are getting off your ship sometimes to walk around and talk to vendors and look for treasure and stuff like that. But otherwise, the ship is your main character. And I think that's great. I love just sailing around, listening to sea shanties. I've had sea shanties stuck in my head all week, as you may have been able to tell from the show. But what I really like about Skull and Bones is it. When I played Black Flag and Rogue, Assassin's Creed Rogue, everything you were going to get from the naval experience you got from basically the 2 or 3 mission tutorial that you would have got. Yes, you could improve your guns and make them stronger. You could add more armor so you could fight bigger ships, but really the crux of what you were going to be doing in the naval combat you got like very early on, and that was it. Whereas with Skull and Bones, like, there is so much to customize and do. There are so many different kinds of guns and armaments that you can attach to your ship, and everyone has to be used completely different. They all have different types of ammo, and they're all good for different kind of situations. So it's a game I can see myself really, 20, 25, 30 hours still kind of unlocking new stuff and learning new things. The other thing I noticed about Skull and Bones is I found that Ubisoft has tried to kind of shoehorn some of their existing franchises into this games as a service model. And to me, it hasn't really worked. Like, I don't care to purchase, 10 new outfits for Eivor in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That was probably the worst offender. But in something like Skull and Bones, like, there are so many different pieces of your ship and your crew and your captain and the little pet that you have standing beside you on a perch that you can customize and change up. And I'm already hooked on the way my character kind of looks, and I don't normally do that in these kind of games. So I think this sort of games as a service genre actually really fits Skull and Bones well, just because of how many different combinations of things you can kind of throw together. And when you're driving by another ship, you want to pull out your spyglass and see what the other ship looks like and the different things they've done. So I think that's really cool. I also it's as much as I didn't want to buy PS Plus for it, I understand why it is a requirement, because it is very much reminding me of Destiny, where you're sailing out in the open world and there's players everywhere doing other stuff, and you can just drive by them, watch what they're doing, or you can join in. You can fight kind of harder boss enemies that just kind of spawn in anywhere. The plundering is really cool, where if you see a settlement on land, you can actually choose to interact with that settlement and buy stuff from them, or you can just rob all their shit. And it spawns this like really long mission where you have to hold your ground and take out towers and ships as they come in, while your crew who's on land is actually plundering the outposts. So it's all really fun. It's all really intense. There's a couple things I don't like about it. From a presentation standpoint, it's kind of rough. It's got really, really bad pop-in. As you're driving along in the water, if you look out onto the coast, you'll see pop-in everywhere. So that's kind of more of an annoying thing than it is a game breaker to me. Somehow Ubisoft is getting worse at voice acting and facial animation. I don't know why, but like some of the face and face capture stuff you'll see in this game is really outdated and not good. But I don't care, because when I'm driving around in my ship and just doing random stuff around the world, I'm having a great time. So I'm enjoying Skull and Bones. I kind of understand why it's getting some hate, but yeah, I'm happy with the game so far. Again, I'm still fairly early. Maybe in another 10 hours or so I'll hate it or be bored, but as it stands now, I'm pretty happy with the game. So yeah.
Dave, what about Skull and Bones do you think took them 17 years to make?
I think they restarted about 4.5 years ago, and that shows.
Yeah.
That's all it was. And we've seen this before. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a good game there, and I'm seeing other people enjoy it when I'm actually playing. And I hope, despite some of the vitriol that Ubisoft games get, that enough people give this game a shot, because I think there are a lot of people out there who would enjoy this kind of thing. It is a very different experience than, your run-of-the-mill open world shooter or hack and slash action game or something. We haven't had games like this since obviously Rogue and Black Flag, and it's a separate thing from Sea of Thieves. That is a different experience. But I think it's worth trying, at least on a Ubisoft subscription service or something, if it comes to Game Pass. But again, I paid full price for it, and I'm happy with my purchase. So yeah, I'm sorry to say I'm having a good time with Skull and Bones.
Copium.
Well, Dave, let me tell you a little secret. Just me and you and Brandon here, nobody else listening in, of course. But I do want to play Skull and Bones, and I've always maintained that I'm interested in checking it out. And I'll give you another little dirty secret. I'm actually not. I actually like Ubisoft games. Now, I don't want an Ubisoft experience all the time. I don't want to always have a million map markers where I got to go look at stuff and find things. But like generally, I do need like a good palate cleanser every now and then. And I consider Ubisoft games like a good palate cleanser, where it's just like, okay, I don't have to think. I'm just going to the next map marker and doing the thing. But I want to play Skull and Bones. I just do not want to pay full price. Kind of in the same way that I want to play Suicide Squad, because I think there could be some fun there. But I will not pay $70 for that game. Now, I put Skull and Bones higher on my priority list than Suicide Squad by far. But there's something about it that it does attract me, but not enough to dive in like you have. So I'm happy to hear that you paid full price for it and you're enjoying it, even though I will not do that. Thank you for letting me live vicariously through you. Are you gonna platinum it, Dave?
I haven't looked at the list yet, but as trophies have been popping, I've been thinking that this would be a fun game for me to platinum. So yeah, I think I might look into that.
One more question. I know there is, obviously, like you said, you have to have PlayStation Plus or whatever online service you're using, but have you experienced any of the multiplayer yet, or has it mostly just been like a shared world kind of thing?
Just shared world stuff.
Okay.
Which has been some of the most fun things I've done. Just kind of jumping in and seeing shit going on over there, going to check it out, and getting into a pretty epic nautical battle.
Nice.
So yeah.
Cool. Well, that's what we got. That's it. That's it for the show. Thanks everybody for checking in. We'll hang out for a few minutes after this, but the audio version, listeners, you're done. Sorry, you don't get the real bonus content here from the end of the show. But don't forget, you can support us on Patreon over at patreon.com/handsomephantom. You can also hang out with us in our Discord for free over at handsomephantom.com/discord. We appreciate you. We'll see you next Tuesday. Hopefully we're back on track. We'll probably have some information to talk about from the Nintendo Direct tomorrow, but it probably won't be real exciting because they're not going to talk about the Switch 2 being delayed.
How dare you?
And there's certainly, yeah. All right. We'll see you later. All right, boys. Talk amongst yourselves. I will be right back.
Okay. Title?
I think he has one. I see it at the top. It says Stonks are diving, which I like.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
It's kind of similar.
I'm glad you're liking it, though. Honestly, I don't think it would be the type of game I like, but I was a little worried, Dave. I was a little bit worried that it would be a miserable experience for you. I'm sorry to hear that you had to buy PlayStation Plus, but I'm glad you're liking it, dude. That's good.
Yeah, and I suspect it's going to sell well. All Ubisoft games sell well, so I don't know. I hope this is the kind of game where, like, if it has a bad population, then that'll kind of hurt the experience, but I think it's going to sell pretty good. But yeah, it's a change. Like, there's lots of shooters out there. There's lots of hack and slash action stuff, but like, we don't get many sailing pirate games, and it's fun.
Yeah, which is crazy. I feel like it is a fairly popular genre, but not many experiences to be had.
It also, and I didn't want to get into like Sea of Thieves comparison, but like, I think Skull and Bones, one of the legs up it has on that is it has, to me, a fleshed out and lucrative single player experience, where I don't know that Sea of Thieves really has what I'm looking for when it comes to kind of what I want in a single player experience. Like, in order for me to get the most out of Sea of Thieves, I feel like I have to go online with friends. I don't know.
There are people who play Sea of Thieves for hundreds of hours without ever interacting with another person, but to me, that's like going into, how do I say it? That's like going into a bakery and asking them for a T-bone. It just isn't what the game's for. Like, maybe they could get you one from the back, but it's not going to be a good steak. And Sea of Thieves, in my opinion, you can do it single player, but that's not what it's meant for.
Yeah, they are different, very different games. One is very social, and the other is very Ubisoft. Which,
my buddy Justin,
that's a turnoff for some people, but it's good.
My buddy Justin described Skull and Bones as a good podcast game.
A good podcast game, interesting.
Like something you could easily like listen to something else while you're playing it, because it's not particularly story heavy. You don't need a lot of interaction.
I got some random hate while I was playing it. I think the first day I played it, I was just kind of sailing around, and then some guy from my PlayStation friends list who I added years ago, and I don't actually even remember who he was or who he is. I just get a message from him that says, "Oh dear Lord," and that was it. So,
how do you know it was about that? Maybe he was dying and you were his last message.
I'm pretty sure it could be, but I feel like it probably had something to do with me playing a game that he thought less of. So,
Dave, did you see Radix question?
Dave, any Toronto man movements you made recently? I guess he's asking if I've made any moves. I don't know how to answer that.
I don't either. I just thought maybe that was like Toronto lingo or something.
Canadian slang.
Yeah.
No, there's this thing called Toronto man's speak, which people on income support think is personality. And it really isn't. But it's Toronto. This Toronto man speak is kind of this like clumsy mashup of like London grammar and Jamaican patois, and I think it's mostly Drake's fault.
It is.
But,
yeah, I do think it is. A lot of things are Drake's fault.
Yeah,
I think.
Knives your break, fam.
Knives your beak, fam.
Are you still in the server there,
Zoomer.
Are you still in the server there? Brandon?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's just jonesing for us to ditch him so he can play.
Yeah, guys. Sorry, I gotta go. I got family stuff going on. My brother in arms. They call for me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm straight.
Cool. All right, boys. Well, we'll end here and upload. And Radix said something earlier about he asked me if I was depressed I couldn't play Skull and Bones while I was on the cruise, and it's heartbroken, honestly. Heartbroken.
As you should be.
Yeah. All right. We out of here.